Hi, Alan Cox here. There are a lot of ways that we can protect email in our environment through the use of a lot of things that we've seen in Purview thus far, whether it's sensitive information, controlling what leaves the organization, etc. Every now and then, we do need to send sensitive information via email to partners, to vendors, etc. How do we ensure that that data does not get compromised um, en route to the recipient? Well, Microsoft has had in place for quite some time OME, or Office Message Encryption. Well, now we have Microsoft Purview Message Encryption, which is very similar to OME, but it just kind of goes a step beyond that, and it is a lot more scalable. There's a lot of things we can do around data loss prevention, sensitivity items, etc. And so we're going to take a pretty quick look at what Purview message encryption looks like today, how it behaves in a variety of different target mail platforms, whether it's another Exchange Online or 365 account, or whether it's another Microsoft owned account like Outlook.com, or whether it's a third party product like Gmail, Yahoo, etc. So we're going to take a look at that today. That's going to be our focus, is Purview message encryption. So let's get started. All right, let's dive right in. We're talking about Microsoft Purview message encryption. And as we said um, before in our overview, that this is really kind of a step up or a natural progression in modernization from the classic OME, Office Message Encryption. It's more unified, it uses a lot more um, features. It shows up in different areas. It's just not transport rules, although that's really where we're going to focus a fair amount. We'll touch on a few other things. And so the first thing we really want to look at here is we want to see if we have message encryption or the RMS enabled, which is now default. And one way we would do that is we got to connect in PowerShell to Exchange Online, because Office Message Encryption is largely managed and handled through Exchange Online. We're going to take a look at that in here in a second. So we're going to log in here. We're going to connect to Exchange Online Management Shell, and we are just going to look at a couple quick things real quick here. Once this loads up, and we are going to get IRM configuration, and we're going to see that it is all true. We have the licensing location, enable PDF encryption. Yeah, but we've got all of this is true here. And we can even go as far as test IRM configuration, and we can go sender here, Alan at 65, and then recipient is, we'll say okay, and we'll see that once this goes through, we'll see that the overall result passed, that the encryption was verified, the templates, the different templates that we have here, right? So we're good to go there. So now, to manage this inside of, we actually manage this inside of the Exchange Admin Center, not inside of Microsoft Purview, even though it's Microsoft Purview Message Encryption. It's because we can leverage this in a number of ways now. Because even DLP policies have an encryption option to them when you set those up as far as actions go. But we're going to do this. We're going to keep it fairly simple. But we're going to look here at message rules, the mail flow rules, and I've got a couple here, and we'll look at these. We'll look at a couple different things here we can do here. So first of all, I've got a couple of these enabled, and these are really, if we go and look at one of these, let's go and edit this policy. So we'll see that we're going to automatically encrypt if the recipient is this person, okay? But we can do, and we'll show this in this example. We can do if the recipient is domain is, right? So if the recipient is part of a particular domain, not just a particular user, then we modify the message security. We're going to apply refers to the Office message encryption and writes protection, right? And so, and then we're protecting with encrypt. And so if we were to go into and basically all that's doing is it's giving it is a rule that says if this, then do this. And that rule is basically saying if this, then essentially do this, right? This is part of that default RMS template. Now, if you have a label, okay, that's going to do, and we won't get into labels a whole lot here. We've talked about labels before, but if we're going to apply a label here that has a basically these features in it, the label is going to take precedence. We'll see that there's no ability to encrypt here because the labels is going to do it, and it will win. Now we're not going to do that. We're going to say this is. I'm going to say okay, justify, but we're going to say here if we encrypt. But what I've done here, we're not going to do this just yet, because what I've done here is I've essentially automatically told it to do that based on this condition. Okay, so let's see what we can see what we get here. First of all, now this is a Microsoft 365 to 365 account, so really it's going to be pretty, you know, there's not going to be a whole lot of bells and whistles. I'm going to give you some examples of what the end user may see if they do this. So basically, the way this rule is created here is we just go in and add a rule, apply message encryption. We can call this encryption to, we'll just say, if it's going to that particular thing, I can say the recipient is, domain is, boxmessagegroup.com, and then what are we going to do? We're going to do the following. We're going to modify, and then we select the rights protection template, and we can say if it's that, just go ahead and do this restricted. But in this case, we're just going to say encrypted because we're not talking about labels necessarily. I'll just give an example of how labels can override. So we're going to go encrypt here, and we're good there. And then we can do an exception here, but we're going to say next. We can enforce, we can activate the rule, put all the timers on it and all of that, and then once we're done there, we can finish and save that. Now what we can also do is we can say, you know, if there's let me see, if the subject or body subject includes any of these words, we can add the word encrypt so that user can do it kind of on demand if they want. But now we've got that default RMS template we can use there. So there's really, when you're sending an email from an Office 365 account to an Office 365 account, that recipient doesn't really see much different. There's not much different. It just encapsulates it, encrypts it. Here, we're going to go, in this case, this is basically the same thing. Okay, the domain, apply the rule in the recipient address domain portion belongs to any of these domains, outlook.com. Rights protection management encryption. We're going to show you what this looks like. Okay, so I'm not going to apply it. I'm going to allow it to automatically do it here. And so we're going to actually go and we're going to say, I'm going to test encryption. We get, Okay. Now I'm not going and I'm not applying it here. I'm telling it it's basically doing it because it's going to this domain, so it's going to automatically hit that rule. And I'm going to go and I'm going to send that there. And now we're going to go out here. We'll wait for it here. It should show up momentarily. Okay. And our message showed up. It may show. Nope, didn't show up there. Got a little junk coming in here. I get a lot of junk in this Outlook mailbox here. So we're going to go and sync again. Try to get this to go. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of time to get mail to come in this mailbox. Let's see if it went to the junk mail, and it did not. All right. While we're waiting on that, I'm gonna set up and demo. Not gonna set up. I'm gonna show you an on-demand version and what it looks like. I just want to show you what the end user looks like in a couple different scenarios. But again, if we go in and we look at these rules, we add a rule here. Apply message. We can, if the sender, if the messenger body contains keywords, so you can add like classification, restricted. You can add different types of sensitivity types in here that might show up. So there's a lot you can do there. And of course, we can do any number of things as far as that. But it's pretty straightforward there. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to say, actually, I'm not even going to create a rule. We're going to do this on demand. First, let me pop in real quick, see if that showed up. Okay, there it showed up. Now, notice what we're going to see here in Outlook.com, which is basically Microsoft's cloud, is it doesn't give you anything kind of crazy. It just basically says the messaging is encrypted, and that's it. That's all you see. Okay, so that's the experience if you're in a Microsoft solution but not Microsoft 365 commercial. You'll get just this line that says message is encrypted. Now, we're going to test this against a third party, my Gmail account, but we're going to do it a little bit different. It is basically the same, but it will behave slightly different, but we're going to see if that didn't load up there. That didn't fully load, so we're going to go here. Options. And this time, I'm going to do this to just a Gmail account. Okay. And I'm going to now say the option here is we're going to encrypt. Okay. This message is encrypted. I'm going to send this on its way. And now we're going to go to a Gmail account and see if that shows up here. It actually tends to show up usually a little faster here. So we'll see if this shows up here, and then we'll just show you kind of what this example is going to look like. Hardly actually in. So there it is. So here's what we're going to get now when you're talking third party. If you send it to a Yahoo, if you send it to somebody that's not a 365 account, you can say, read this message, right? And so they can go in here, they're going to read this message, and they're going to get this sign in with one-time passcode. And essentially what it's going to do, they could sign in with Google, validate that, but we're going to do one-time passcode. And what it's going to do, and I can say, keep me signed in. The recipient can say, keep me signed in for 12 hours. Essentially what's going to happen is they're going to get another email back here, and there it is. And so they're going to have to validate this passcode. Okay, and we can say, yeah, that's fine. And so then we can continue. And once they've validated that, they will be in. And now all messages will be essentially be done through this portal for them. This is an encrypted message, and there is the encrypted message. So that is kind of the experience if you're dealing with a 365 account, if you're dealing with a Microsoft account, but not necessarily, say like an Outlook.com or something like that. And then what's the experience if you're dealing with, if a user is receiving the encrypted message from a third party, like, or if they're receiving it using Gmail or Yahoo or something to that effect. So that is Purview Message Encryption, kind of a quick demo of how it works and how you can set it up. There's a lot of options in there. I encourage you to go around and explore and test that out for yourself. Well, thank you for watching, and hopefully this has been really helpful for you. Thanks.